Okay, well, hi. My name is Fatima. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and today we're going to be having bystander intervention training. Um, Working with Vicky, Roslyn, and Eddie. Eden, sorry. We can go to the next slide now. Okay, so now that I gave my name, my pronouns, I would like you guys to share in the chat. If you can, turn on your mic, share your names, pronouns, and one good thing about your day. We give a few more minutes for that, just so you guys can settle in and start to think of something good about your day today. Okay, so a few more minutes, but so far I see that in the chat, Alfred said that his name is Alfred Chen. My pronouns are he, him. And one good thing today about his day is that he had a nice breakfast, which is great. Um, Samantha also shared. Thank you for sharing, Samantha. She said that my name is Samantha. I use any pronouns, and one good thing about today is that I got a 98 on my really hard math test. I'm really glad you did. Math is insanely hard. Gonna give about 2 more minutes for those if you guys want to share, just so we can start off with introductions.
Hi, my name is Roslyn and my pronouns are she, her. And one good thing about my day is that I slept in.
I'll share too. I'm Ian. My pronouns are she, her, and one about my day is I.
Okay, so we're ending off with Blaine. I hope I'm pronouncing your names right. She said that her name is Blaine. My pronouns are she, hers, and one good thing about her day is that she woke up happy and healthy. Definitely the best thing. It's getting colder, so I hope you guys don't catch that cold that's going around. Okay, so now that we gave a few minutes for introductions, we can go on to the third slide. So to start off, we're going to discuss what the meaning of bystander, what does it mean? If you guys have anything to add, we would like to talk about it. So to start off, I wrote that a person who, although present at some event, does not take part in it, an observer or a spectator. So what do you think the word bystander means? Provide a definition or add on to the one that we currently have. What would you like to add or subtract? You can either turn on your microphone or I'm also going to put it in the chat for you guys. I'm just going to really quickly describe a situation in a bystander because I know that sometimes definitions don't always help. Okay. So a situation in when a person be considered a bystander is if a person was getting robbed and then another person just watched it happen. When they have their phone with them, they have, sources that they can reach out to. At that moment, they choose not to do anything. So at that moment, they're considered an observer, a spectator who is not partaking in that event. You are a bystander if you do not partake in it with. If this is, you can be considered a bully if you participate in it and you join the person who, I'm sorry, join the person who's robbing, not a bully. And if you weren't doing anything, you'd be considered a bystander. So in some situations, being a bystander could be good, but it also could be bad. We're going to discuss about that today. I'm going to give a few more minutes for those you want to add on to the definition. Any reactions and what you think about it. Maybe if you like it, you can also say it's good in the chat. Okay, so it seems that we don't have anybody that wants to change the definition. Samantha said that she agrees with the definition provided and it sums it up pretty perfectly. So we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so really quickly, I just wanted to share what do you guys think about this? Why is the number so high? Any thoughts? Because 70% is a pretty large number. And according to the US Department of Justice, bystanders present as 70% of assaults. As I mentioned in an example before, a person that's getting robbed, they have an access to their phone, they have access to other medias that they can use at that moment, but they choose not to. So why do you think this number is so high? Okay, so I see a few people in the chat. Alfred, you said that the number is so high because many people are scared or don't know how to intervene. I definitely agree. I want to add because, when something happens, when something very traumatic and scary happens in the moment, a lot of people's first instinct is to be scared. You don't react right away. And because of that, you are often just a bystander. And in certain situations, this is okay. Being a bystander is better than intervening because your physical health comes first, your mental health comes first. And if you feel that if you intervene, it could impact you negatively, then maybe that's your best choice. Thank you for sharing, Alfred. And on the chat, I also see that Samantha said that I think because most people would be scared to intervene of the consequences of intervening. Definitely, there's a lot of consequences. Maybe if you intervene, you're considered a primary suspect, you're considered a participant of what's going on. Another person asked, is this because assaults happen more in public than in private? I would say it depends on the person, because in certain situations that happen publicly, not all public places are crowded. So there's a lot of contributing factors, but like it really matters on every situation. Everyone's different. Um, I hope that everybody has a reasoning for being a bystander if they ever find themselves in a situation, because it's better to help somebody if you can. Samantha shared that also because most people just want their mind business and move along with their day. Sorry, she said most people just want to mind their business and move along with their day. I feel like some people think at least it's not me. Definitely. Sometimes when you're in a situation like that, you have to be grateful that you're not in a situation that can cause you harm. You're in a situation that you're safe and that you have the option to choose, do I want to intervene or do I want to watch this happen? Because as I mentioned, I keep repeating, your health is more important. If we're in a situation where you are scared and if you intervene where you can get hurt, then it's best not to do anything. So thank you guys for sharing so much. If you guys want to add on, you can always do it in the chat. But as of now, we're going to go to the next slide. Okay, so I just wanted to share, I thought this is really cool. Albert Einstein shared that the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, by those who watch them and do nothing. So take this with a grain of salt because every situation is different. Every situation has different contributing factors. Some are safe, some are not. But personally, if I saw someone getting bullied, I would try to reach out to a teacher. I wouldn't intervene by putting myself in between because it's scary, but I would try to help ask a friend or a teacher to help out because asking the proper authorities and adults are sometimes the way to go, not always. But again, use your best judgment. So now that we reviewed what a definition of bystander is, we introduced ourselves, we talked about statistics, and a little something by Albert Einstein, we can go on to the next slide. Okay, I see Roslyn in the chat. I'm actually taking one more minute just in case anybody else wanted to share.
Oh, I'm presenting next. So share your experience. Have you ever been a bystander? If you're comfortable, if you want to share your experience, is there anything you would want to do differently? You can share, you can turn on your mic or you.
Sure, can I share? Hi, everyone. I've definitely been a bystander before. I've shared this story a couple of times in program, but one time I was on the train and someone was exposed and sitting next to a woman and she was unaware. And it may have just been an accident, but I wrote a note in my phone and I pretended that I was asking her for directions, but the note was really telling her to come with me to another car so that we were both in a safer position. And so at first she didn't understand what was happening. And then I was like, please, I really need you to read this address for me. And then she read the note and was like, okay. And she came with me. And it was a different situation. I'm not sure if I could have done anything differently. I probably would have like shared it with another person. I didn't want to necessarily confront the exposed person because I don't know whether or not they were purposely exposed. So I didn't want to make that scene, but I did want like anyone that was nearby to be safe. So that worked.
Thank you for sharing. That's a really good example of how we could, like, that's a really good bystander example. Yeah, so I'm gonna move on to the next.
Sorry, I
Oh,
also wanted
does
to
anyone
share-
else want to share? Oh yeah, sorry.
It's okay. I don't know if anyone else shared in the chat, but really quickly, I want to say that thank you for sharing, Siobhan. That was really nice. And being a bystander in a situation definitely calls for a lot of things. You have to make quick judgment calls. You have to decide between options right in the minute. So for me, I would say that I've been a bystander in a middle school, where a lot of things happen. So a lot of drama happens, and I've been a bystander because I I never addressed it to my friends, and I was like, guys, this is wrong, I kind of stayed quiet. I've never kind of mentioned that it was wrong, although gossiping did happen a lot of middle school, but I feel like if somebody said it was wrong, if one person just stood up, then maybe it would mean the difference between a person who could get bullied, and that could mean their day. And that is a major thing of being a bystander where people don't know what to do, especially in middle school where you're in a crowd, you just want to fit in and it's hard. Samantha shared in the chat. If you don't mind, I can read it out loud. Thank you for sharing, Samantha. She said that, yes, once on a bus ride home from school, there was a fight between two men and it escalated to the point where one of the men took out a knife. Luckily, no one was harmed and he didn't stab anyone, but I was really scared. I'm not sure if there was anything I could do better. I chose not to intervene because I was scared and the man was very aggressive and armed. Definitely, your physical so your safety matters. And I'm very glad that you were able to make that judgment call. Sometimes I am dumb. Sometimes I intervene when it's unnecessary. And other times I stay quiet. So it's really about judgment. Sorry, Roslyn, you go.
Okay. Thank you so much for everyone for sharing. Thank you, Samantha. Okay, so I'm gonna move on how we can, does anyone else want to share? Okay. I'm gonna move on to the next slide on what you should do and what should not do in these situations. So when it's safe, what in any situation, if it's safe, intervene and put your input in. Sometimes putting in your input can mean mean a lot to someone if they're experiencing negativity. Some things not to do are, if it's getting physical, sometimes it's not always safe to intervene because it can mean that you are to be harmed or that person will be harmed further. You also need to think about how you're going to jump in and what you're going to do before you do it, and really process the situation before you move forward. And you can be a bystander without contacting the proper authorities, because sometimes the victim doesn't want you to contact the authorities, or they don't want you to just like consult the victim sometimes before you tell the authorities, because that might not be what they want, or might put them in an unsafe situation. But if it's getting physical or something really wrong is going to happen, you use your best judgment and then contact. Who's doing the next slide?
I am. How to avoid being a bystander with the 5 Ds. So these 5 Ds are going to help you de-escalate any difficult situations that you encounter. So number 1 is distract. If there's any potential harm, distract them to get help while you distract. Number 2 is direct. Directly intervene the situation. So you could use strong words, body language, letting someone know that you're serious. Number 3, delay. After the situation has occurred, check in with whoever was being harmed, let them know that they are seen, and make sure they get the help they need. Although some people, make sure you ask, because some people won't feel comfortable with that. Or yeah. Number 4, delegate. Delete the situation if there is a possibility of which the proper authorities will take time to come. And number 5, document, record, photograph the situation or the individual doing the harm, and make sure to delete that video if the victim does not want you to have it.
Oh, Fatima also said in the chat, assessing the situation and making judgment calls is very important. Yes, agree.
I just want to add on to document. So it is very important to document whenever something happens, to have evidence, and evidentiary support helps you when building a case and everything. But as I mentioned in the chat, assessing a situation is important. And if you see that if the person is going to harm you, if there's a fight and you take out your phone, there is a potential chance that the person might be mad for you recording. So if you do choose to record what's going on, try not to make yourself visible, try not to go too close, always protect yourself so you can protect others. And I think that's very important. Being a bystander, again, it's not bad. Just make sure you're making the good calls.
Yes, of course, I completely agree. Now we're going to move on to the next slide. So now let's practice. I'm going to read out a situation, and then you guys are going to pick which 5D you think fits into this situation, what will you do and why. So bystander situation number 1, a man starts yelling at a woman on the train who denied him and begins to invade her personal space. You observe that no one is helping her. What would you do and why? Fatima says, I think I would document the situation for evidentiary support. Yes, I also agree. If that was being documented, you would have to make sure to send the victim that video. But if they ask you to delete it, also be sure to respect that. Alfred says, I would distract by striking up a conversation with the woman. Yeah, that is super smart. I would also call her over to sit with me instead.
Yeah, so I didn't agree with Mr. Chan, and Alfred also added on that asking her if she wanted to get off the next stop, I think that's very safe. You guys definitely have very calculated moves. I would react instantly, and that is something that's not always good.
If everyone is done, I'm gonna pass it on to Vicky.
Okay, so we could continue on to the next slide now. If anyone, okay, yeah. So what are some reasons someone will not intervene in a situation? Think about an individual's identities like their gender, race, or religion, and how would this affect you or the person you know? And I'll give everyone some time, and I'll go first, and then others can just feel free to type in the chat and share. So I believe some reasons someone will not intervene in a situation is because they fear that the person may get like revenge on them, or like they may end up getting bullied or like hurt. They don't want to put themselves in a like a harmful situation. So yeah.
When it comes to race, I think a lot of people of color won't feel comfortable if there's like authorities involved, like police officers, because that puts them in a vulnerable position.
I agree on that. And Fatima also said in the chat, because of their safety, yeah, I agree. And many people are minorities, so that means that it could be a hate crime. Yeah, I agree on that. Is there anyone else that want to share?
Yeah, I would add that, especially with, the fact that this is a teen program, I would add that, sometimes someone may be afraid to intervene because those who are, causing the harm or targeting others may be older than them. And they may feel like they're too young to intervene, or this is an elder that they don't necessarily want to approach. I know we've seen that in some of the What Would You Do TV shows episodes.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that one, because I have personally like experienced something like that. Cause like I saw like I'm afraid like of like people older than me. So like if they're like in a fight or anything, I would like pretend like I didn't see her or something like that. So yeah, if any if there's no one that wants to share, we could
I
continue
can
on.
share.
Oh,
So
okay.
hi, my name is Alfred. I believe another reason why some might not feel comfortable to intervene is maybe that they are a minority, or they're a person of color, and they feel that they don't have the power, nor do they have that the 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 the, the strength because of their own identity. Maybe they feel that because they're a minority or a person of color, or LGBT, they feel that they're unable to, I guess, come off as someone with power, is what I would say.
Okay, that's good. So we could continue on to the next slide now. Okay, so are bystanders guilty? So according to this point of view, when bystanders are in a position to save a human life but do not, then they're in fact guilty for the victim's fate. Since they witnessed the situation and chose to do nothing, they are considered as guilty. And they themselves may also feel like guilty for not knowing what to do or for being too fearful to step in. And we can't really blame them, because everyone reacts differently in certain situations. And yeah, so do you guys want to like add on or like share anything you have in mind? Feel free to type it in the chat or something.
Yeah, I completely agree. It does depend on the situation because some people don't feel safe enough to intervene at that moment, but if there really was no reasoning for you to be a bystander, then, you know.
So I see in the chat that Fatima also said that it depends on the situation, because if bystanders are guilty, because sometimes they are, but sometimes they are not. Yeah, it really does depend on the situation, because in some situation they can't do anything for it, but in some situation they could. And Samantha also said, like Fatima said, I feel like if they were truly scared and had no idea on what to do, then I feel like they aren't guilty, because it is a normal human instinct to want to run or to freeze. Yeah, I agree on what everyone said. And if that's it, we could move on to the last slide. So any questions or thoughts you want to like share or ask?
I have one. What can we do as community members to make sure that we're always, willing to help others?
I feel like maybe like put ourselves in that situation, and then like picture if like that was us, we would want someone to come and help us. So maybe like putting yourself in that situation will like make us think that, oh, we should help this person and not just stand there or like walk away, because yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and always use the 5 Ds: distract, direct, delay, delegate, and document, to help as many individuals as you can as possible, if you do feel safe and feel that you're able to intervene in a difficult situation like that. If no one has any, nobody else has any more questions, can everyone write one thing in the chat or out loud that you found interesting about this session or something that you liked?
So if no one has any closing thoughts, thank you guys for listening. My name's Eden. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, guys.